Good evening. This regular City Council meeting of the City of Marion for Thursday, February 4th, 2016 is now called to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have some special guests today who are going to lead us in the pledge. Would you please come forward? Please stand up here. Okay, and then you can lead us in the pledge. You ready? Okay, go ahead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you? Okay, go ahead. For our moment of silence, I will like Lon to say a few words.
You want to do roll call?
Do roll call first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, roll call.
Ms. Pazur.
Here.
Ms. Hetzel.
Present.
Mr. Spinks.
Present.
Mayor Abou-Osley.
Here.
Mr. Brandt.
Here.
Mr. Sternan. Mr. Draper.
Here.
Okay, now the moment of silence.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the chance. For those of you that may not know, the city lost one of our employees last Saturday, and that was Neil Caraway in the building department. Neil worked for Marion as the city's code compliance coordinator for almost 15 years, and the name and the title is really what the public saw. But what most people don't realize is just how difficult that job can be. All they see is the junk in the neighbor's front yard or backyard, and they want it removed, and they want it removed now. What they didn't see was that Neil was often working with people who were at one of the lowest points in their lives. They might have had mental health issues. They might have been somebody who was caring for a loved one, or someone who was otherwise unable to care for themselves. Neil was somebody that out on the job site was called names. He got named in lawsuits. He was threatened, and just about everything else under the sun that you can possibly imagine. But through all of that, he treated all the people that he was working with humanity, dignity, and respect. And that was the Neil Caraway that people didn't see. And that's the Neil Caraway that we lost. And so with that in mind, I would ask that tonight's moment of silence be done in memory of Neil.
Okay. Okay, and we offer our condolences to the city and to the family of Neil. Okay, so I'm going to ask our students to come back up, and I'm going to come down. Come on up with your essays. This is a special treat tonight. These are students from Indian Creek Elementary, and you can stand right there next to the podium. And then they had an assignment to write a short essay on what they like about Marion. So I thought it would be good for us to hear what they have to say. What they say matters and should matter, and I thought we would all enjoy hearing what they have to say. I'm going to come down so that we can take a picture when you're finished, okay?
They don't like anything about me.
We'll have you go one by one and stand here and then say your name and read your essay. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Howie, and this is my pen and pal letter. Dear Rhett, you should really come and visit Marion, Iowa. It's a great place. There's so many things to do. One reason is there's a lot of neighborhoods that are quiet and nice and beautiful. The neighbors are the best in the summer. You get to play with them and run around. The neighborhoods are quiet, especially in the winter. Every day after school, when the sun is about to go down, you can watch it because you get home at like the perfect time. Another great reason is because of the schools, because they are nice, safe, and bully-free. All the classes are quiet. A lot of schools eat healthy. Did you know that there are parties like birthday parties and the Valentine's Day party? Oh, and Valentine's Day is coming, and the party's at the school. There's lots of things to do. In the summer, it's hot and you get to go to the pool a lot. In the summer, you also get to go to the park and have bike rides all over town. In the winter, there's giant snow piles and ice slides everywhere. It's awesome. Everyone stares in awe. This is why you should come and visit or even live here. Everything is awesome, so please come. Sincerely, Howie.
Hello, my name is Kylie. Why Marion is a great place to live. I live in Marion, Iowa. Marion is a grand place to live. Because of all its aspects, Marion is in fact an exceptional place to live, one of the best in the nation according to me. To start off, Marion is very family friendly. There are so many family activities to do. Plus, we have pools and libraries to hang out with your family. You will also feel secure in your home. Second, there is a large variety of places to go, many restaurants, stores, etc. You could find anything you possibly need. The places are endless. If you want Chinese one night and pizza the next, you can get them in Marion. Lastly, there are innumerable amiable people. Marion has a low crime rate, which everyone wants. People that are strangers say hello and greet you in the morning. They make you feel phenomenal inside. That is why Marion is an extraordinary place to live. I like it, so will you.
I'm Rachel. In my opinion, I think Marion is a great place to live. Here are the reasons why I think that you should move to Marion. When you live in Marion, Iowa, you get to experience all 4 seasons. Like in summer when you smell the smell of sunscreen and chlorine, or in the fall when you hear the crackling of the leaves underneath your feet, or when you get to see the beautiful white fluffy snow falling on the bright green grass. Another reason I think you should move to Marion, Iowa, is because of all the history. If you go to the town square, you can drive on a brick road. Also in the town square, there are a lot of antique stores for you to go shopping at. In my opinion, this is my favorite part of the town square. Drum roll, please. The old train. It's my favorite because you can climb on it. My last reason why you should move to Marion, Iowa is because of the parks. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Why should I move to Marion, Iowa for the parks? Here's why. Because the parks are very big and have a lot of room. All of the parks are fun for kids of all ages. But wait, the best part is there are a lot of them. That's why I think you should move to Marion, Iowa. I hope to see you soon.
I'm Ella, and this is the essay that I wrote about why Marion is a good place to live. The Awesome Perks of Marion by Ella Farrell. Marion is a very good place to live for seniors, couples without kids, and growing families. There are condos for newlyweds or seniors and nice houses for growing families. The many parks and family activities that call the Marion area home include Sky Zone, Butterfield and Thomas Parks, Airfax, pools, splash pads, a fantastic library, Giving Tree Theater, restaurants, Planet X, museums, movie theaters, and many more. The parks are all scattered about Marion, so almost anywhere you live has a park or 2 nearby. It's hard to get bored in Marion. Also, highly rated school districts are also found in Marion, like the Linmar District and the Marion Independent District. Schools are great and are near most neighborhoods. Take it from me. I'm a 4th grader at Linmar District, and school is not something to complain about. Other services like police, fire protection, and healthcare are plentiful and well done, so you don't need to worry about those. Additionally, our city has a solid reputation as a place to live for growing families. I'm trying to say that the town is quiet and nobody gets mugged like in big cities. Also, it is less expensive to live in Marion than many other places in the U.S. I hope you're convinced that Marion is an amazing place to live, so you may want to live here. So, if you're thinking of moving, consider Marion as an option.
Very nice. You could tell one of them was speaking because all you had to do was find the parent that was grinning at the time.
I had it on.
Careful who you offer that to.
Nice try.
You just lost the staff over here.
Yeah, Tom left.
Okay.
Well, that was a nice treat.
I'm just glad there wasn't a mass exodus from the staff table after you made that announcement.
Okay, we'll continue with citizen presentations. Are there any citizen comments? Please come forward, say your name and address.
Susan Kling, 2790 Brandon Court. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm here representing the Library Board. We have narrowed our search for a library director to 3 finalists, and those 3 finalists will be in town this coming Monday, and they will be at a public forum which will be held from 6:30 to 8:30 at the library, and we hope you can all attend. Each of those finalists will be giving a short presentation, and then there'll be time for questions afterwards. On Tuesday, the library board will be interviewing those 3 finalists, and we hope to select a new library director from one of those. I think we have 3 good candidates. I think, Will, you can chime in if you want, but I appreciate your help with that, and I think we've got some good people to choose from. That's all I have to report. We don't have an update on the building project. We're still waiting for cost estimates. So we've been promised those in February, so we hope we'll be able to come back in a couple weeks with that. Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Will there be a time for public questions for the candidates?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. They will be giving a short presentation, and there will be time for questions afterwards.
Okay, very good.
And time to and there'll be cards to give feedback. So the library board's very interested in the public's feedback.
Okay, thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Any other presentations? Comments? Okay,
Ready for the consent calendar?
moving on. Yes.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent calendar as presented, numbers 1 through 33, excluding 32. We're concluding resolutions 25080 through 25103.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as presented, excluding number 32, and including resolutions number 25080 through 25103. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve a motion to approve a 3-year rebate. This is number 32. A motion to approve a 3-year rebate in the amount of $2,865 for Captivating Crafts at 1890 7th Avenue, Larry Smith. Request.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve a 3-year rebate in the amount of $2,865 for Captivating Crafts at 1890 7th Avenue, Larry Smith.
Mr.
Discussion?
Smith is here. He was able to attend tonight, so I know that some of the council had wanted to kind of hear his side. One thing that I would add, just from speaking with him a little bit more tonight, is it sounds like what he filled out was actually the old urban revitalization application. So that would have explained why he thought that things were going to be automatic, but that was after the urban revitalization district had been removed and the TIF district had been put in its place. So
Okay.
if you want to come up, Larry, you can go ahead
Mr.
and come
Smith?
up. And we'll
Thank
State
you.
your name and address.
Larry Smith. The address we're talking about is 1890 7th Avenue, Marion.
Welcome.
Yes, I did fill out, and of course, according to my application, it says tax incremental financing application, and I turned in on April 3rd, 2013. Now, I noticed the motion 32 is for a 3-year incremental or for 3-year rebate of $2,865. Now, according to my application, just have issue with that is that according to the application on the back page, it said this was for a 5-year rebate, not a 3-year. So I'm not sure where the 3-year rebate came in, but mine shows a 5-year. there at the bottom of the form. So I take issue with that. There should be a 5-year versus a 3-year. Not quite still fully understanding Lon's calculations on how he arrived at the 2865, but I mean, it could be or couldn't be. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the calculations, so I'm not sure how that was calculated exactly. He tried to explain a little bit to me, but I'm not quite sure if I'm grasping the whole concept of the thing. Other than that, I don't see much else there is to it. Is there anything else you have questions on anything that is going on or why this wasn't? I was a little bit upset that at the council meeting on May 9th, 2013, that it was approved and that the former mayor came up to me and says, okay, you're done. We're all just wait till you get the increase in your taxes, bring it in for a rebate. I did that in September of 2015 and was told it didn't exist, and that even according to Lon's investigation that it was somewhere tabled 2 weeks later, and nothing was ever said to me or notified me or ever brought up to the council again about anything. So don't quite understand all that mishaps there. So, is there anything else?
So, do you have anything to explain?
No, the reason for the 3 years was just that the way the new policy will be coming forward, that's what it would recommend. If the council did want to go to 5, that would be to your discretion as well, whether you wanted to do that. I hadn't seen the copy of the application that he'd filled out before he brought that in. So, but this is what he was going forward on. I think the confusion is that, you know, when we do these, there's a couple of different steps. We received and filed the letter of application, but then it was removed from the agenda after that, and I think there may have been some confusion in just thinking that that receive and file was actually the motion to approve, that there weren't additional steps in the process going forward. So, but like I said in my memo, it was transitioning between departments. What didn't happen is that there was no letter or anything that was ever sent to Mr. Smith to let him know that it had been removed, or, you know, kind of what the next steps in the process were.
We still would have needed a development agreement or a written contract agreement with the city, correct?
To do it as a TIF project, yes. Mm-hmm.
But not
we
under
can't,
this application, or?
Under Urban Revite was different. Urban Revitalization, they filled out an application, it got filed through the city council, and then it went to the county, but it was much more automatic than TIF. We did not, under Urban Revite, have to execute separate agreements with the individual property owners to put those in place. And it was an abatement, not a rebate, which again is a difference, because with a rebate they have to pay the higher taxes, and then once the county sends us our check, we turn around and send that check back. With an abatement, you never pay it for that period of time.
Was Mr. Smith apprised of all this as it went along? Which kind of leads one to believe that if you didn't hear anything, then it must have be okay.
Yeah, on my my notes, I guess they're back there. But anyway, on the notes I took on May 9th, I wrote approved across on the motion. I wrote approved across. There was two other companies being considered the same motion, and I wrote approved on them because that's what I heard from the council.
But the approval was to receive and file, correct?
That's what happened.
And so there was a misunderstanding, and then to add to it, someone told him that it was a done deal.
And according to Lon's investigation, or when he investigated on this, the reason it was pulled was because I didn't have some type of small little area for production. Now, like I say, we make handmade crafts, so we do have a production area on site. So if that was the reason, like I said, no one ever notified me that they were even pulling it. The other thing is that this 2865, is that, I don't know, like I said, I'm not sure what the calculations, but if tax increases incrementally over the years, does that keep going up also?
Does it?
If you're doing a percentage rebate, then it varies according to the value of the property and with your tax rate. So for example, The consolidated tax rate for Marion a couple of years ago was about $37 per thousand. This last year it was about 38.5. So the increment goes up and down according to that tax rate. And if the valuation of the property goes up and down, like when the state implemented the rollback for commercial property to take it from 100% of value to 90% of value, commercial taxes went down. They would pay less, but then the rebate that they would receive would also be less, assuming that the building values don't go up. So there's a lot of factors that come into why it's not just a straightforward, very simple calculation on looking at the difference between, a tax bill this year and a tax bill the next year. To complicate it further, in this case, you've got the transition from a residential property to a commercial property, so there's an automatic increase in taxable value that's not associated with the improvements to the property. So isolating the piece of the value of the property that was caused by the improvements that they did was the most difficult thing in this piece. That's why the difference between what Larry had calculated and what I came up with and put into the memo for council.
But again, to the answer to the question though, is that if it increases next year, the value of the property, will the rebate increase also?
The way that we've got it set up right here, the council would be just approving a one-time payment that would be equal to the 3 years, and then after that it would be done.
That's my question. Why, if you're going to incremental value, then it should increase. There should be some stipulation there. If it increases the value of the property, if the county decides to increase it again, then if it's 3 years forward, then the increment should be some rebated again later. Maybe that's another motion. I don't know.
The issue here, and it's a difficult one, that this was never really approved. It was not approved, but there was confusion and there was miscommunication. So we're trying to do something to help and to make it right, so that you're not completely out. Out without anything. So this was sort of a compromise because the reality is it was not approved, but there was what was approved was to receive and file it, which at that point authorizes the staff to negotiate the agreement with you. That never happened. Then it usually comes back to the council for final approval of the actual agreement. None of that happened. We believe you that you legitimately thought it was approved. Someone gave you a wrong perception that it was a done deal. So we're trying to do something in the middle here to help.
I understand that, but I'm saying the reason they said that from what Lon's investigates, the reason they disapproved it had no bearing on it at all. It never existed. Said I didn't have a production area. I have one.
Just to clarify, though, the way that had been interpreted in the past, pure retail projects were not eligible. Production had to amount to 50% or more of the square footage of the available building. And it didn't necessarily have to be production. It could be warehousing and distribution if you have a small retail showroom and you're doing warehousing and distribution in the rest of the building, but retail had to be kind of incidental to the building and not the main purpose of the building. So that's why, I didn't know that he had production in the back, but when the application came in based on the information that the staff would have seen, that probably would have been the determination that it would have been retail. Now again, I can't find records or anything that point to that, but just knowing the way that projects had been interpreted prior to that date is that's how it would have been looked at.
But did he understand all this? That's the question. And it seems like, okay, here's a one-person retail. And it just kind of, would somebody that's got a number of people working for him, would they be treated the same way? I don't know. And it doesn't seem fair. If he is under the assumption that he was granted this rebate.
And I'd say, yes, I was.
Your Honor, I spoke Tuesday evening in favor, and strangely enough, I said 5 years in. I I just feel that the confusion that was created by everybody involved, that the compromise is a good way to do it. And 3 or 5 years, truthfully to me, doesn't make any difference. If there were guilty parties of not getting everything done for 3 years, it would certainly apply to 5 as well. The property value has been on a yo-yo. The property value is, even as a dwelling, because the state goes from 55 to 50 to 52, has gone up and down. And the TIF should be on the increase of the value. Well, so how much did it increase when it did go to commercial? It's a difficult thing to figure out. So you base it on the amount of money that's been spent on it to make it a commercial property. And, you know, I would sit here, and what I would be doing would be asking that we amend the motion, but my memory doesn't allow me to know 10 minutes ago if we ever voted. No.
No, we haven't voted.
The motion has been brought up and seconded.
Right.
Yes.
So I could ask it be amended, and I will ask the motion be amended to allow a 5-year TIF on the construction amount of money spent over the value of the building.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to a 5-year TIF
And the increase
on the incremental value added,
construction cost.
the actual value added to the
Due to the construction, yes.
Yeah.
The construction expense.
Right.
Okay.
So what was
Discussion on the amendment.
Well, I just had a question. So this happened in 2013. Is this the year that this is supposed to start happening? Your TIF is supposed to be?
That's when we purchased the property, and that's why it's devalued from 50-some thousand down to 35, because that's what's worth at that point. Since then, now, it's up to 88,000, according to Lon's,
Yeah, there's normally an 18-month delay between the time that you do the work or build a building and when it actually, you start to make that first property tax payment based on the increased value. So this would be the first year that it would hit. As he acquired it in 2013, and if I remember right, he took the building permits out in 2013, finished it in 2014. So here we are 18 months after that, and he's seen the first property tax bills at the higher value.
Well, based on what we know now, is this a project that would have qualified? I'm still confused about that.
We'd have to do an assessment on how much of the building would be being used for retail and how much of it is being used for production. Normally it was done on, I think, a square footage basis. Just retail was supposed to be incidental to the property and not the primary use of the property.
And that's not the case, is it?
He's doing a combination of both, but, you know, when people think of that facility, what are they thinking of it for? They're thinking of it for retail. I would say that, you know, it probably would have been interpreted by staff that it would not have been eligible under the TIF. Again, that's different than the urban revite. The urban revite, it would have been eligible.
We can't overlook the fact, though, that it is in a TIF district.
It is.
That doesn't mean that every property in
Well,
the district applies.
He didn't understand that, is what I'm
But
saying.
that's,
Well, I think since this is an isolated case and it's like one person or one property involved, I don't have a problem with increasing whatever, you know, it should be up to. It's not like you've got, you know, 40 people in here
I
requesting
understand,
the
but it
same
does set
thing.
a precedent.
But if you leave someone with the attitude that their request has been approved, and then you pull the rug out from under them, what does that say for the reputation of the city then?
But do you have paperwork that says it was approved? I mean, I don't really, the paperwork you showed us, is that the contract, or
There's no
that was the application.
it's just an application?
Right.
There's
But
no
then-
other
But then
paperwork?
I have the notes, probably back there, that show where on May 9th of 2013, where motion number 24 was approved. I mean, that's my own notes from the meeting.
And you have nothing,
That's the
another
last-
contract of,
No, that's the last I heard about anything.
Well, does anybody else that applies for TIF get a contract?
They all
So
do.
it goes
we
through, yeah.
we see it and we vote on it.
It gets voted on by
Nothing happens
council.
until a contract's been approved by the city council.
Right.
Yeah, to qualify for TIF, that creates a legal debt obligation on the part of the city, so it has to have a public hearing and there has to be a development agreement associated with it. You also have to specifically amend the urban renewal plan to include that project on the urban renewal plan.
So what would the 5-year do for, right now it's 2865 for 3. What would that do for the 5-year amount?
It had
Puts it up to 4775.
47.
1,900.
That's not that much. Go for it.
Testwater, I call the question on the amendment.
So, all those in favor of ceasing discussion and moving to vote, right? Say aye.
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 All those opposed?
No.
No.
You still want to discuss it some more? Okay. So, wait, hold on.
Wait a minute, whoa.
We got 2 ayes and-
Parliamentary procedure, question, you don't vote to see if you go on,
That's my experience, is that you do vote to see if people want, that you vote to cease discussion. Just because somebody calls a question, you're not required to move on. You have to see if everybody else agrees.
No.
Mr.
That's a
Attorney?
question for Don.
That's my understanding
I
too.
believe the
Your Honor.
mayor is right.
Hasn't always been done that way.
We'll do a roll call for calling the question.
What do you mean?
This is a vote if you want to cease discussion and vote on the amendment, or do you want to keep going with discussion? Please do a roll call.
Ms. Pazur?
Yes.
Ms. Etzel?
No.
Mr. Spinks?
No.
Mayor Abalosely?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
No.
Mr. Draper?
Yes.
That's a tie, 3-3.
So it
And
fails.
you've got one absent, which counts as a
So-
no, so.
Okay, so we'll continue discussion.
I just think it just leads to a bad precedent for the city, that's all. And it's saying, well, if you're one person and you want to start a business in Marion, forget it, because you're not going to get anything out of it, so.
Now, Tom, your department was the one that was handling these at the time, so if you've got something to offer.
Yeah, I think you got to go back to when this was being discussed. And there was a lot of conversation with the use of TIF back then. And most of the projects, and I spoke with Mr. Smith about this. I think Mr. Smith's the one that's handed me the application. He requested 5-year. At that same period of time, we were looking at projects that were not the investment that Mr. Smith has made is fantastic and it's great for the city. But we even talked to industrial developers at the time, and the MTG Fasteners was a 3-year TIF. And that was a $500,000 to $1 million building and facility. I'm not discounting the investment that you made, Mr. Smith, but I'm just saying that when we were looking at development projects back then, a 3-year would have been where we would have landed on it. Now, I recall the conversations, and there were a lot of discussions about whether it actually qualified. Is that?
Well, I know that one time I had to go back and redo something. I don't remember, but once you accepted it, I considered it was done.
So when the receive and file is made, then there's usually an intent to proceed with the use of TIF. That did not occur, and we know that. That's fine. So I think the conversation that we're having about it becoming a 5-year I don't think that would have went through. That's clearly speculation. I understand that. So I think the 3-year would have been about where we would have landed, and I guess that's what I would leave the council with. We had industrial developers investing in the industrial park that were getting 3-year for a $500,000 to $1 million building. So I understand there's a desire to make Mr. Smith whole on the assumption that he, had applied for this, but that's just where I'm just giving you the background that I have. So, thank you.
I got one comment on that.
Yes, sir.
5-year was on the form. I didn't put it on there.
It was on the form.
Not on the form.
It was
The application.
printed.
Okay. Well, that's a good point to make.
I would just like to ask, how did you find out about this rebate or TIF?
I think either one of the inspectors or somebody, or I can't exactly answer that at this point, how I actually learned about it.
Okay.
To tell you the honest truth. I mean, I was down here enough getting permits and everything else, and it could have been brought up then. I don't know.
Yeah, there's just a lot of small businesses in Marion that have never applied for anything like this, and I can only recall the chocolate shop ever with retail getting, being awarded something like this, because we do not usually give anything to
production.
Yeah, because they have their
I'm
manufacturer. So
originally
there's a lot of I'm going to vote no for this because there's so many small businesses that I feel like would be offended that they weren't entitled to something like this.
Well, I'm a finance major by trade, by start and trade anyway, and so I've got a lot of years in the finance area, and if it's $1 out there, I'm going to go after it. Whether anybody else goes after it, that's their deal, but if I find it, I'll go after it.
Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment? This is amending the motion for the 5-year.
I guess I'm for leaving it at 3 years. I think this exhibits good faith for the city that has made some mistakes, and mistakes by Mr. Smith as well, and not. But I think the 3 years exhibits a good faith for him, and I agree with Ken that there's businesses that have not applied for this, and I think, but to give out $3,000 of taxpayers' money for this,
considering how much has been put out otherwise,
well,
and you're quibbling over 3,000. No, I think basically it's a grandfather type thing, isn't it, Don? Oh, sorry, did I distribute?
Okay.
Contemplation, I see.
Well, that's up to the council.
Well, I mean, this is not like done yesterday. This is 3 years ago. And it's not like,
Okay. So, any other discussion on the amendment? Do you have any comments on that?
I'm happy with what was originally stated. Again, there was never a contract. I don't see why we would adjust it to a 5-year TIF on the construction expense. I think someone dropped the ball in the city and didn't inform him if it wasn't getting approved, so I think it's a good faith effort of the city to give him the 3 years of $28.65. So,
I don't think so.
but there was never a contract. Yes, someone told him that it was done deal, but there was never anything signed.
So since when does somebody's word not mean anything?
When there's not a contract that's signed.
No, you can't do it that way.
Fortunately, that's the times we live in, is you need to sign a contract.
Yeah, today we can say that, but 3 years ago,
we
it
needed a
didn't
signed
get said
contract
that you
too,
need a contract. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have gotten a contract. I think that the city's reputation is just on the line here. Are we going to treat people fairly?
Okay. Let her finish, please. Let's have all discussion go through the chair, just for order, please. Thank you. For order. No, keep going. I'm trying to.
I just think that the city's reputation is at risk here, because to just say, well, gee whiz, too bad you didn't get something signed, even though there was a handshake involved and all this. There are too many things going on in the city that were agreed on by handshake that are being totally disregarded now. And this appears to be one of them. I'm finished.
Okay. Well,
I see it as that it's not hurting the city's reputation. I see it as a good thing that the city is going to step up and say, okay, somewhere someone might drop the ball, and there was not a contract, but we'll go ahead and do this for you. So I see it totally opposite as you. I don't see it as, I see it that we are stepping up, and we are not hurting our reputation. I think that we're helping our reputation, that we didn't have a signed contract, but we are going to do this for you. I see it totally opposite.
I agree with that.
okay. I think we can vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment,
5 years.
5 years on the investment made in the building, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please signify by saying no.
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 So we have 4 to 2. The motion fails. So the motion on the floor now is as it's presented in the agenda. Any further discussion on the motion as it exists in the agenda? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay, so
4 to 3.
4 to 2. Motion passes.
Etzel and Pizer voted no.
Etzel and Pizarro voted no.
Thank you.
Okay,
So where does that leave Mr. Smith?
the motion is approved as it's presented in number 32.
So he gets the 26,
2865.
865?
Yes.
Now I'll ask a question. Do I need to
Yes, sir.
sign something else?
Give me a call.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Apparently I didn't ask that before.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, so I move to approve consent calendar with Mayor Abouassali's abstention as presented, number 34 through 37, resolution number 25104 to resolution 25107.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar with my abstention. Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, on to public services.
Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 25108, approving a purchase agreement with John Hennessy, Mary Moran, Kathleen McCarthy for parcel 15054-02001, 00000, not to exceed $576,000.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25108, approving purchase agreement with John Hennessy, Mary Moran, and Kathleen McCarty for parcel number 15054-02001, 00000, not to exceed $576,000. Any discussion on this?
And we were just quibbling over $2,600?
Presentation on it?
Yep, I
Yes.
sure can.
Okay, the parcels up for consideration are east and west of 44th Street, just north of Highway 100. The motivation behind considering these parcels goes back to our expansion of land, or the yard waste facility. This is an aerial photo. We went over this at the work session. This was the yard waste facility at public service back in 2010. It was confined in the property at that time, and now this is an aerial photo in 2014. As you can see, we've seen some dramatic expansion of the facility, as well as the volumes of people utilizing that facility. And then the car counts, we went over this on Tuesday. Back in 2010, we would see 9,000 and 10,000 cars annually. Now we're seeing in excess of 24,000 cars. Just for comparison, I did take up this year's aerial photo. This is from the Lynn County Assessors. Right now, we have about 10 acres that we utilize for that entire facility. And so that doesn't allow us much growth opportunity if we are planning for the future. So that's the primary motivation behind considering these parcels. Other than that, we are also looking at some development with some fuel stations, as well as some locations for some solar technology. So any questions from the council? I will say that when we talked on Tuesday, there was some discussion in regards to the wetlands. I did talk to the realtor. The owners of the property have agreed to transfer the rights to the farm lease that is tied to the property. Right now, the farm lease includes $300 per acre. That will be farmed this next season. According to the realtor, the sellers have agreed to transfer that right to the city. Therefore, we will see some revenue off of that. In addition, we are also looking at incorporating more farmland to offset some of the expenditures that we're going to see in this transaction, if approved by the council.
Any questions for Ryan?
I don't have a question. I just think it's a good idea anytime you can obtain ground that close into the city, that it's really a good idea.
It is higher priced ground, we'll admit that, but it is difficult to find areas within the city that you can do this type of operation. You really need to be in an industrial area. There's not many locations within the city that we can do this. It is contiguous with the property owned by the city, and it comes back to one of the primary motivations as well is to really look at moving that yard waste facility out from the adjacent residential areas that are up to the south of the current operations. So we really want to get it out of there, get it out of sight, get it out of mind. So.
Okay. Any further discussion on this?
That ground to the right there, that's good. That's not marshland or.
Some of the ground, yeah. Here, I might have a photo. Some of the ground is, if you go down to the bottom, that becomes wetland. If we were to expand what we're planning on needing, probably the next 10 or 20 years, it would chew up that entire parcel. Again, we do have a current site plan for a new facility at that location. And I can kind of show you if it were to go on the parcels, if they were acquired. That's about the area we would take up for the yard waste facility. That's the parcels that we're currently considering. So it's going to take up a pretty good chunk there. Again, it is away from the residential area. That's why we are considering this.
Okay. Any further discussion? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor of approving resolution number 25108, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 25,109, approving a purchase agreement with John Hennessy, Mary Moran, Kathleen McCarty for parcel 15,054-010200000, not to exceed $472,320.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25109, approving the purchase agreement with John Hennessy, Mary Moran, and Kathleen McCarty, not to exceed $472,320. Discussion?
You got a second.
Pardon?
You got a second.
We have a second.
Yeah.
Yes.
He just said discussion.
Discussion.
Discussion. I thought you said second. I'm sorry.
So is this, on the picture you showed, there was two parcels, is this?
Correct.
So this is one on the
This
east
would be
side?
the east parcel.
Okay.
That's roughly just over 9 acres.
Yeah, okay. So this is the east parcel, and we voted on the west parcel
That is
before.
correct. Yep.
That's what I thought.
So one you close in March and one you close in July?
That is correct. The intent is to stagger the closings of the parcel. That would kind of alleviate some of the concerns of our current budget that we're going to have. In addition to that, we have some activities that we're currently pursuing that should offset, or we're hoping to offset, majority of the costs associated with this transaction. So that's the intent of the staggered closings.
The one that closes in July, is that going to be the farmland too?
The one that closes in July, that will be the east parcel.
Will you be farming that one?
We will be.
Oh, is there enough, July, is that time to farm? I don't know.
March typically is when March to April is typically when you start, and then going.
Yeah, I know,
into-
since this one closes in July, that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, well, we have had conversations, we've
Okay.
structured that, yep.
What are you
Okay.
gonna plant?
Just asking questions.
Plant tomatoes.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? We'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 25109, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Planning and Development, we have a public hearing on the request to rezone property located south of Echo Hill Road and west of Alburnett Road from A1 rural restricted to R2 medium density single family residential. The public hearing is now open. Do we have a presentation on this first? Is that no? Or I guess should we have opened the public hearing after the presentation, just for procedural? Is it okay the way we did it? Okay.
Good evening. The property up for consideration for rezoning and a part of the public hearing here is property that's highlighted in red. It's identified, this is Echo Hill Road in Alburnett, so that if you go out Alburnett Road to the cross of Echo Hill, it's just to the east before you get to the intersection. Across from it is Oak Park Circle, just north of Oak Ridge School. Oak Ridge is in this area. We just did an annexation out there that encompasses a lot of the property that's identified here. Lau Park would be here, Oak Ridge, and then the residential development. There's a county development on the east side of the southeast side of the intersection. The development is being proposed is to rezone the property from A1 to R2, so providing for single-family residential homes. Fairly consistent with the area. If you look to the south, there's a rezoning occurred last year, and Skogman Homes is doing a development out there. This is going to be a very similar project. It's single-family residential. The plats, which you will see if the rezoning is approved, are connected, and we've been working with both developers to ensure that there's a connectivity between the developments. There's approximately 25 acres on the property that's proposed to be rezoned at this time, and that will make way for 52 single-family lots out there. If you'll notice, we're splitting the area is under ownership by one person. Well, actually, there's two parcels, and we're splitting the second parcel. We did ask that the developer provide kind of a build-out plan for that other parcel just to ensure that it is developable. As you'll see when we get into the preliminary plat, that has he has submitted that, and it works out rather nicely. So, if you look at the adjacent uses, we're fairly similar in compatibility. To the east, you have some larger lots that were developed in the county. To the southeast is more of a residential development that's more urban in nature, a little smaller lots. And I believe that these lots are a little bit larger than the Oak Park Circle lots. So from a compatibility standpoint, I think we're right where we need to be. I'd point out also that the city's comprehensive plan, and specifically the land use map as a part of that plan, is the basis for the zoning that we can recommend. The kind of the light yellow area is single-family residential. The red outlined area is the property that we're talking about, and so the land use and the zoning are compatible, and with that we would support the request. Planning zoning also held a public hearing on this project and has supported the rezoning, so that comes to you with a recommendation from the Planning Commission as well. If there's any question, we did do a notification to the area for rezoning, so there may be some folks that received that in the audience. I didn't notice that anyone specifically was here to speak to the issue. I will say that if the rezoning proceeds and a plat is proposed, we will notify probably out a little bit further, because there's some stormwater issues in the area that have impacted rural subdivision to the south, and we want an opportunity to at least let them know there's a plat being proposed and that the stormwater is being addressed. So.
Where's the water and sewer, Tom?
The water and sewer, both in Alburnett Road right now. And I think it's stubbed to the west through the Skogman development. There'll be a stub street coming up north, and they'll connect. Detention's being handled mostly on the east side of the development. There's a ridge through here And the water in this vicinity goes east to the road and then south along the west side of Alburnett for the most part. There's a little that comes off the other side, but that's being captured through detention as well. Most of what's impacting the development to the south is water from the west of this property. I know the developer and his engineer are here too if you have specific questions. But we'll get into a lot of the stormwater issues with the plat. This is really just to create the ability to develop the property with single-family residential homes.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone in the audience who's here to speak on behalf of this project or in favor of this project?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and staff. My name is Dustin Kern. I reside at 4246 Churchill Drive in Marion. I'm the developer of the project. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate the hard work and effort staff has put into this. We've had several meetings, as Tom mentioned early on, with the concept and then proceeding to the preliminary plat. If there's any questions that you have for me, I'm here. Obviously, my engineer is also here, even though it is only the rezoning. If you'd like to answer or ask any questions regarding the preliminary plat, layout, lot sizes, home styles, etc., I'm here to answer questions. But thank you very much.
I would have a question insofar as in the past, subdivisions north have had water problems big time. There will be none of this the way it's all planned with the retention basins and all there will.
Right now we're in our preliminary stormwater detention design, but we're following all the requirements from the city. As Tom mentioned, we're pushing water from 2/3 of the site to the east into the required detention basin to slow it down. Certainly the events that we can have can increase that, but I'm not anticipating water problems as long as our site's designed appropriately, which it will be.
We'll come after you if there are.
I know you will.
Anyone else in favor of this project? Anyone here who wishes to speak against this project? Please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Ready? Okay. Ordinance number 16-01, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding a request to rezone property located south of Echo Hill Road and west of Alburnett Road from A1 rural restricted to R2 medium-density single-family residential. DX4 Investments Incorporated, initial consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 16-01, amending the Code of Ordinances regarding the request to rezone the property located south of Echo Hill Road and west of Alburnett Road from A1 to rural restricted R2 medium density single family residential. Any discussion?
Tom, maybe you said it, but how many homes are looking at this site? How many?
52.
How many?
52.
52.
So these are larger lots.
Yeah. So are they less than an acre or an acre?
Yeah.
They're generally about a third up to a half an acre. I usually try to strive for a minimum lot width of about 90 feet and depth of 150 to 160. There's a couple that are a little bit tighter at the front, but then they pie out. Just for perspective, I guess, a subdivision I developed in Marion that is quite similar as far as lot sizes and what I'm anticipating as home styles would be the Highview first, second, and third edition, north side of East Robbins Road, Newcastle, and then kind of behind Mulberry Ridge. Those lot sizes, actually, those lot sizes out in Highview are somewhat smaller than these, but some of them back up to that detention basin. So that gives us a little perspective as far as what ultimately the project will look like.
And these are all single-family homes?
Correct.
Not apartments, condominiums?
Nope,
or?
all single-family homes.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Thanks, Dustin.
Okay, any other discussion? Ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor of ordinance number 16-01, amending the Code of Ordinances to rezone this property, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay.
Your Honor, I move move to approve these mayoral appointments. The first one is for Tom Ryan for the tree board, the term to expire 1/1 of 2019.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion? Moved and seconded to approve the appointment of Tom Ryan to the tree board. Any discussion?
Did he fill out an application?
Yes.
Okay.
And it comes with the recommendation of the Parks Director.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, the appointment is approved.
I move to approve this mayoral appointment of Will Brandt for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Second.
Moved and seconded to appoint Councilman Will Brandt
Make
to the
him sweat.
Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Not really.
Any discussion?
Are you going to vote no, Will?
Yeah, I am actually.
All those in favor of the appointment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
I abstain.
Abstention.
Tom, how many's on the Bicycle Advisory Board now? Is there
A lot.
I think there's 15 maybe.
Yeah,
15?
It's a big.
It's a larger group.
Mine,
Yeah.
mine says Harley Davidson, that's not a problem.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, we'll have council discussion time.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I should have brought it up earlier. Item number 21 on the consent calendar. Could you see if Mr. Hanson is here or not, whether he would like to speak
sorry.
on that?
Where are we?
Oh, sorry. Okay. I didn't know if he was actually wanted to speak tonight or.
Would you like to? Please come forward.
All right, I'm Aaron Eckley. I live at 2995 26th Avenue. This Prairie project, just a little background, started and mainly this winter year of 2014. I was in high school, and I started a restoration attempt to restore the prairie, the habitat by 29th Avenue across from the bridge. And what I've noticed is that the habitat is getting overgrown with invasive willow and aspen species, which are not only threatening the wildlife which are there, and also the structure of the prairie. And over time, if it were to keep not being maintained over time, I'm thinking that it would get to a point where it become undesirable and possibly come to a point where it would be almost destructive in property or in nature. And then my thing, I would urge the council to take some action in this in order to try to restore it, not only for the neighbors that are living around it, but also for the people that kind of have an aesthetic purpose within Marion. And also just another point I was going to prove is that, if it were to get restored in the near future, that'd probably also be at economic cost less than having to restore it when it absolutely have to due to it being so overgrown. So,
How would it affect the wildlife if it's overgrown?
Well, the willows do act as kind of the willows mainly are just getting overgrown. There are several species which feed on willow, and those are also getting overpopulated within the prairie. The other I'm into entomology, so I'm big into insects, and there's a lot of species of insect which feed on there and become overpopulated in the prairie, as well as the native species which are good pollinators and good for water quality are also, I've noticed, leaving the prairie due to the lack of flowering plants, and also the water quality is changing due to the garbage I've seen in there, and also the willows are kind of affecting that water quality also.
Any questions for Mr. Eckley?
Good project.
Pardon?
Good project, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be funny here, but is this is this like a good candidate for community volunteers to work on?
Yeah, I guess that would be a good. Yeah, I could. Yeah. Or I'm sorry. What was?
I'm saying the work that you're suggesting be done on this. Is this a good candidate to have community volunteers work on?
Yes, and that would be good because I looked up some pest management strategies for the willows, and one of them that I concluded would work primarily would be to cut the willows and paint them with a pesticide, which would not affect the plants around them, but also over a time frame of about 2 to 3 years would eliminate the willows. But there would need to be more people than me just going out there and cutting willows because there's.
Wait a minute. Cut willows?
Just they're little invasive trees. They're the ones threatening the prairie.
Because then you're going to have water problems if you eliminate willows.
Yes, the willows do hold the soil in place, but that is around. But if the water, we would also primarily the retention basin in the prairie would need to be dredged, and if the prairie was established properly, the plants would actually maintain the soil. Prairie plants have about I would say an 8-foot root system, which even if the water is scarce, they can still thrive on water that is not available to most other weed species. And they also hold the soil better than willows. I mean, if there were an abundant amount of prairie plants.
Now, this wouldn't be a candidate for the goats also, would it?
Me and Dr. Hansen did look at that. We looked at the goats on the go and Ames that we can install, but we would need to install, obviously, a fence around the area to keep the goats maintained. The thing is about the goats is they are primary. They do eat invasive species, which would be good for species that we wouldn't have to manage. That would be another step that would need to be taken. But again, they need to be fenced in and they need to be regulated in the site.
I understand there is a herd that can be rented daily.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have heard some successful stories about that it has reduced the invasive species and also the plant
They
material.
carry them in and they clean it up and carry them out, and and it makes it look. Well, I have seen an area that was done by goats, and everything was just groomed up to a certain height. It was wonderful.
Yeah, and also, I mean, even the excrement of the goats actually acts as fertilizer and helps the plants grow. So, I mean, there's really nothing to lose there either. So.
Bring on the goats.
So.
Okay. Any other questions?
At the Tuesday meeting, it was discussed about access back into this area from Indian Creek Road. Is that something we need to do as far as that parcel, or?
I've talked to JD, excuse me, JD Slaughterback, who is the owner of the lots, and he's interested in selling them to the city. He's going to be gone again on vacation, is gone now. He'll contact us when he gets back, and then we'll come to council with a presentation.
Okay, very good. So that'd give you access, or nice access back
cool.
into that area.
All right. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Council discussion?
First of all, I think the idea of having those 4 students give a resume of what they think about Marion was just excellent. And I'm with the little boy who liked the parties. I think that was cool. And my condolences personally to Neil Caraway. I knew his first wife. I'm awaiting the water report on the radium in the water. I talked to Todd Steigerwald on Monday, and he said it would take just a tremendous amount of water for any of this. But they never thought that the Zika thing would ever blossom the way it has, and you really don't know the results of some of this stuff. And I would just as soon get this taken care of before it happens that it should have been done yesterday. And one other thing, when the city came out with this Marion Reach Higher brochure, and under the YMCA it says the property and facility will be owned and operated by the Cedar Rapids Metro Area YMCA. That bothers me. If nobody else is contributing to this other than Marion, then I think that everybody in Marion should have a permanent membership card so that they can use the facility anytime without cost. Because if Robbins and Hiawatha and Northeast Cedar Rapids and Springville and Central City and everybody else is coming in to use this, and the only thing they have to do is get a Y membership, wait a minute, that's not helping us. I'm finished.
Thank you. Joe?
I noticed today on Facebook that somebody is celebrating a birthday, so I won't say who it is, but he does the planning and zoning. So happy birthday, Tom. And also I want the condolences to the Caraway family for Neil. I first met Neil and Nathan about 23 years ago. They built our home that we live in. At that time, they were Jim and their dad was the contractor. And the neighbor, before we bought the house, I talked to the neighbor about it. And he told me the story that Neil, our house has wood siding on the outside, the wood boarding. And he said that he watched Neil and Nathan one day. They put this board up, and they were standing out there looking at it, and it had a big knot in it. And Neil said, that's got to come off. And they replaced that whole board and put a one up with no knot in it. And so that's the way our whole house was. It didn't have any knots on any of the siding on the outside anyway. So, but anyway, that's the kind of guy Neil was he was a straight up guy. So he'll be missed. And I missed his mom too, is Nancy. She was the real estate. There was this little desk in the house there that she was selling the house on their own. So it was a real mom and dad and sons involvement. So that's the way the whole family is. So anyway, Neil will be missed.
Thank you.
Yes, also condolences to the Caraway family. I did not know Neil myself, but and then happy birthday, Tom. That's all.
Birthday? You're leaving us next week, I hear, for your birthday? Take your passport if you want to come back. I would echo the Neil. Neil, he was a car guy, and I'm kind of a car guy. He was a Volkswagen fella, and so we had a common interest there. Other than that, I have to behave tonight. I have my roommate with me tonight for the last 59 years, so I promised to be good. And she's been my nurse this week, so I got to be good to her. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll also say happy birthday to Tom, and welcome back, Mary Lou. She's been out ill for a few meetings, and glad to see that you're doing better. And again, I'll offer my condolences to the family of Neil. And I just want to read one thing that I read in this little publication that we got. Studies by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety show that nationwide, intersections converted from traffic signals to roundabouts have had reductions in injury crashes of 72 to 80% and reductions in all crashes of 35 to 47%. Interesting.
You know, I always liked you until you read that.
It's the experts talking. It's not me. Well, I just thought it's always good to share information. So,
what visitation for Neil?
And there is a visitation till 8 o'clock at Murdoch.
Right.
For Neil tonight, if anybody's interested. So.
And Saturday too.
Pardon?
Saturdays.
Oh wow. Also on Saturday?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, we should announce that the City Council is moving forward with our office hours, except we're not having our office hours in City Hall. It's going to be at the library every Saturday from 9:30 till 11:30, and there will be different council members taking turns, starting with this Saturday. So we're making an effort to go to where the citizens are and to give them an opportunity to share their thoughts and their ideas and opinions with us. And hopefully we'll get to, if there are, issues or questions that we can address, hopefully we can do that and try to work on our outreach to the community. So, okay, pass the word on that. Anything else? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.